Good day. My name is Brian Chappell. I've written a program for the HP 50 calculator for directional drilling. It's called the DIREC program. It was originally written for the HP 48GX, which was discontinued some years ago by Hewlett-Packard, then translated onto the HP 49G Plus, and currently available on the HP 50G. The idea being that you could have a directional drilling program that you can carry around, be portable with you, and basically do all the things you need to do to drill the well without having to go back to a laptop computer very often. Some of the features of the program are it'll do basic survey calculation, giving motor outputs. There's very good projection features where you can drill your next single in front of you, get information between you and the target. You can drill one single or several singles. You can chain them together. It's very easy to use. There's quite a few different solvers for Ouija boards that have been included, so that there's quite a few options of doing things in different ways. There's a units conversion table for converting volumes, lengths, temperatures, dry weights. It incorporates an electronic slide sheet where you can put in your slides from to distances, and since it knows every other bit of information, it will go ahead and tell you how much slide you've seen, how much is in front of you, and since it knows the dog leg, it will translate that directly over to motor outputs. Very easily done. There's a tools menu which incorporates many solvers, rectangular to polar converters, degrees minute second converters. There's also pipe tally and pump output features within the program. The program will work either in feet or metric. It also does well planning for two-dimensional wells, for build and hold wells, S-curve wells, horizontal wells, which is very handy because most field systems don't have that. The program comes on a secure digital SD memory card. It's right-locked, therefore you can't lose the program, as you can, say, with HP 42s where you have to reprogram them in there. It's going to be hard-locked. You can't lose it. You need to use the numeric keypad, the orange function keys, the straight math keys if you want to do mathematics. And generally, you're going to use the plus/minus key for entering negative numbers, the delete key for clearing the screen, but the rest of everything is going to be solely these keys across the top, which is a menu key corresponding to a menu label above on the screen below. The enter key is not even used in my program whatsoever. It's strictly going to be working between the screen and the menu keys themselves. There's a continuity of all the screens within the program that generally the information that you see is going to come from the data you see on the screen. It's not a situation of that you will zero all the screens and enter in data one bit by one bit by one bit and then come up with a calculated answer. The screens are always going to be correct in relation to themselves. Like all the information you see is going to be any computed data using the data that's on the screen. This is a continuity through the program. And it means you have to overwrite information that's within the calculator. And it's made specifically like this because it's, like I say, it's made for when you get tired and you can't make mistakes. For example, there's only one target you can have in front of you. People say, should there be multiple targets? I mean, the calculator can certainly handle it. But the idea is that you don't want to get confused. It's made to be on a simple basis. It's going to trap all the solvers. It'll trap all the errors that the calculator can come up with, and it's going to bring them down to a level that it's actually much easier to use this calculator than it is to use a 42. People look at this, they get intimidated because they think that it's going to be a little bit complicated. They're going to have to worry about getting wrong information. They're going to hit a wrong button. As you can see, you only use the number keys, you use the problem solver keys. Your information is always going to be coming to you from within the screen itself, so that you cannot really, if anything comes out of this video It would be the fact that I'm trying to make sure that you have you're happy in the knowledge that you can't do anything wrong to this calculator, and you can trust the numbers that come out of it because you can see the data that went into it. One of the things to really remember when you're using this calculator is that it's a calculator. People get so used to using computers these days that they get very paranoid about the fact if they exit a program and don't save things properly, that they're going to lose data. If the program locks up, if it does anything untoward, if they do a power loss or something like that, they can lose data. And they don't realize that this is not the case with this calculator. It's working on RAM memory that is secure, not only for the program itself, but for the data you write into it. I don't know anybody yet who has managed to lose data out of this calculator. It's built so that it can recover from it if it does. But if you ever say, for example, if you're running the program and you get an error message, it's not a problem. You haven't lost any data. You haven't gone to the wrong place. If you're really lost, all you do is you just restart the program, like the orange shift, number 2, start the program over again, you'll find out you're exactly where you were. The big learning curve is that you will at times get a message that says, there'll be a warning on top. The second line will say too few arguments. Basically just ignore whatever the message is on top, but if it says too few arguments, what it's meaning is it wanted to see a number keyed in before you pressed one of the menu key buttons. If you say you want to enter a depth, and so the first inclination for someone that's not used to the program will be, okay, I'll press the depth button, put in my number, then press the enter key, whatever. As soon as you press that depth button, it's going to give you an error message with too few arguments. The idea being that if we did it that way, where you press depth, put in your number, press and enter, that's 3 keystrokes. By just putting in the number and then putting in the depth, it's only 2. So once you get used to the program, it goes much quicker. What you want to think of is if you ever see an error message, and if the second line says too few arguments, don't get flustered. All it's doing is telling you that it wanted to see a number, an argument, before you press the button. You can easily clear it any time by pressing the delete key, and the on key itself actually works as a screen clearing button. If you really get lost, just don't worry. Start the whole program over again. Not a problem. One of the other features of the Hewlett-Packard calculator, and this is mainly for people who are not familiar with Hewlett-Packard calculators in relation to normal calculators, is that the Hewlett-Packard calculator, when it's doing normal mathematics, addition, subtraction, multiplication, whatever, uses what's called RPN, reverse Polish notation. And if you ever do want to use the calculator for math, you have to use RPN. You can use it at any time you want to, while you're running my program, whatever. And if you see whenever you're finished doing your math, if you want to go back into it, if you see the menu labels across the bottom of the screen, you're still on my program, just go right back to it. Otherwise, just start the program over again. You don't have to exit out of the program to do any kind of things to do mathematics. You can just do it back and forth quite easily. But I'm just going to give a little bit of a thing for people who don't understand RPN as opposed to a normal calculator. Hewlett-Packard uses RPN. A normal calculator, you will punch in 2 plus 2, the equal signs. It will give you your answer, which is 4. With RPN, you'll put in 2, you'll punch in the enter key, you'll punch in your second number, and then whatever function you want to have happen, and it will give you your number of 4. This works very fast for long string mathematics, like equations. This works very slow. That's why Hewlett-Packard uses this one. It's really superior for doing the kind of math for everything else. But, if you're in the middle of working and you want to do some mathematics, on your calculator, you've got to do it with RPN. A lot of people are familiar with Hewlett-Packard calculators these days, but if you're not, it only takes a few minutes to sit down and practice it up. You'll notice that as you press the Enter key, it rolls the answers up on a stack, and as you press the function key, it brings them down, and the answers will be the same. So it's a good idea to just spend a bit of time and practice up on that if you're not sure of it, because it's really handy to be able to use your calculator as a calculator as well as simply for a program. Getting into the specifics of my program, I've got a really good instruction manual here, which I'm not going to go into in very much depth, because the whole idea of this video is sort of a primer to get you used to the calculator, to get confidence in the fact that you'll be able to run the calculator. The manual has been written really well in order that it'll carry you through a sequence of getting used to the program. It'll start off with something like, say, pump outputs, but mainly that's just to get you used to running the keys, the functions, how everything's going to work with the menu labels and things like that. So if you go forward to the part, you'll notice that every part of the manual actually has a small screen dump next to it. If you go through this manual once, it'll take about an hour. You'll find that you will see how easy it is to run the program. Just make sure that the screen dumps you see on each side of the screen match what you have on your screen. And there's a sequence that follows through, and it introduces you things very well. There's been more than 1,000 copies of this program sold, and this manual has been revised in order to make sure that it's easy to use. And I get very few phone calls from people about how to run this program. As you start into the manual, you'll find there's pages at the very front. This page is meant to give you a primer on just how to run the calculator. The manual that comes from Hewlett-Packard itself is very poor. It's very thin, explains very little about how to run the calculator. It's mainly just saying that, explanation of what keys are going to be used, carry lots of batteries, because this is going to use lots of batteries. How to use the delete keys, whatever. There's a function, if you ever do get a calculator lockup, where you hold down the on key and the C, which is similar to Control-Alt-Delete. It'll bring that up. And it also starts giving you information about, how to use setup, tie, things like that. But it's mainly a primer on just how to use the calculator itself. This page over here is a very simplified sheet that shows the layout of the menu label keys and the various menus. Like, say, we have the main menu. You'll always find the survey function on the right-hand side, the electronic slide sheet on the left. The use of the next key, which brings in the next set of menu labels where you change from feet to metric. As you go down, you're going to find all the menus are always locked within the same position. And like I say, the first hour you're going to use this program is going to be the hardest part, because then once you realize where everything is and how secure it is, where you can't ruin data, it's going to become very easy for you. So this is an explanation here of the too few arguments, which is going to be the only error message you're going to see, and I'll guarantee you're going to see it. And you'll probably see it for about 4 or 5 times, and after that you'll realize it's an error message, and why you're doing it, and you'll be past it. And then it'll work much faster. But this is just covering all the survey menus, the projection menus, and then we carry right over into the actual manual itself. The third page consists of 2 surveys. There's a build and hold well and a horizontal well. These surveys are used for the survey calculation samples to be used later throughout the manual. As you get used to using the program, and say you're calculating surveys, you're going to find quite a few things in there that work in a special way. Like after say you want to add a survey, what you do is when you press the Add Survey button, you can either put in your bit depth, measure depth, and by pressing the proper button, it'll tell you it'll figure everything else out for you for your depths, because you've already got a sensor to bit distance in there. If you want to put in just a single length, it doesn't matter which button you'll press, you'll find it's very easy to use, and it's very foolproof for figuring out your depths for adding a survey. Once you've calculated a survey, the the small parenthesis number after the depth is going to be the distance from the last survey or projection. You're going to find that the number after the dog leg is your drill-off tool face, the theoretical. When you do projections, it's going to look exactly like a main survey calculation sheet, with the exception it's going to say P1, P2, whatever in the corner, upper left. You can, if you want to see what relationship you're going to need to get for build-up rates, say to a target, it's going to force you to do a projection to the bit. You can change this depth, dogleg tool face of your projection. You can change it whatever way you want to. You can say again, do another one. At any point, then you go ahead and check against the target for what's required. The second that you press the survey button, which is always on the right-hand side of the screen, all projections are thrown away, so that when you add a survey, it becomes part of your Bible for added surveys. But when you go into projections, you can do whatever you want to do. It doesn't really matter. You can't affect the data you've already got in there as a survey. And you go ahead and once you press survey again, it's all thrown away. It's very bulletproof that way, and it works very good. Say, for example, when you're going to land a three-dimensional horizontal well, you can actually drill your next single in front of you with the projection feature. You project to the bit, put the bit where you think it is with the dogleg tool face. You press again. You can drill your next single with either a large dogleg or a small dogleg and see how that's going to affect your landing point. You can do this as many times as you want to, but when you press survey, it's all thrown away because you're going back to your actual surveys. I mean, this is a very powerful thing that even most computer programs don't do very well. So it's a very handy feature. There's quite a few things in it like that. I think the main thing to really remember is that what we really want to do is this was made specifically to be really easy to use and to be bulletproof. It's made for 3 o'clock in the morning on the third day. The thing is, like, a lot of the pieces are integrated together. You don't have to use them as integrated together if you don't want to, but you can. Like info is when you start a new well. If you want to do a tie-on for a survey, you'll find that under the survey menu, because it's something you'll do. Say if you come on shift at 6 o'clock in the morning, you can do a tie-on. You don't have to worry about what anybody else is doing, because info is under a new well. That's where you change your targets, whatever, sensor to bit distances. The things are all integrated. Like, say if you're calculating surveys, you'll go ahead and you can use the electronic slide sheet, or you don't have to. It's very handy to use it. It's actually one of the best parts of the program, I think, because as you're entering in your slides, it will be telling you, it automatically gives you your motor outputs. It saves you having to calculate these things. Under the tools menu, if you go to the rectangular to polar converter, there's actually a line at the bottom that will tell you how far right or left you are of a line on a two-dimensional well. All these pieces are together. It's working quite well. There's options that can be set. You can set your projection modes for either Ouija board, dogleg tool face. You can set it for rates, which means you can put in build and turn rates, or you can set it for what I call value mode, where you actually punch in an inclination azimuth you want to see. You can switch back and forth with these anytime you want to in the middle of doing whatever you're doing, and it doesn't affect anything. A lot of these things just come as a familiarity with the program, as you see. So to sum it all up, this is just a primer to get you used to the manual. You should be ready for the manual now. I mean, all I'm saying is, like, you're confronted with a whole bunch of things right now where you're learning at the same time. Don't let this one fluster you, because you'll find that this is going to take you less than an hour to figure this out. If all you use it for is calculating surveys, it'll be 10 minutes. And I know that many people who have bought this program have never read the manual at all, and they run it. So have fun with it. I hope it all works out with you. Like I say, if you have any questions, give me a call. I'm on my cell phone number, or my email address is on the card on the inside of the front manual. And I want to thank you very much for using it, and I'm always interested in feedback if you like the program or if you don't. Like I say, I've sold over 1,000, and I give 90-day money back warranty on people who they don't want it, and I only ever got 2 back. So that's good. I'm happy with it, and I wish you luck with running the program.